I sent a pregnancy test to the wrong number. Unbelievable twist. He's a billionaire ready to love. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It was supposed to be a simple routine morning. I woke up, heart racing, excitement bubbling as I rushed to the bathroom. The pregnancy test felt heavy in my trembling hands. I could barely breathe. After a few minutes of agonizing silence, my reality shattered. Those two pink lines screamed a truth I wasn't ready for. In a daze, I grabbed my phone. My heart pounded as my fingers slipped over the screen. Instead of sending it to my best friend, Sarah, I mistakenly sent the picture to a wrong number. Panic surged through every fiber of my being. I stared at the blue light of the screen, contemplating a reply that, deep down, I hoped would save me from this nightmare. I felt vulnerable, naked. The weight of my secret threatened to consume me. My anxiety turned my stomach into a tight knot. How could I face my family, my job, my dreams? The man on the other end of the text was unlike anyone I'd ever met. "Congratulations," he replied, and his name Liam Sinclair echoed like a seductive song. My heart raced at the thought of a stranger, probably sitting in a luxury high-rise, wrapped in silk sheets with a life I would only dream of. I couldn't take my eyes off the response. I wanted to ignore him, to erase the message. But I couldn't. Hours ticked by as our exchange unfolded. I learned he was a billionaire, enigmatic and charming. Something in his words stirred a strange connection. I fought against it, but each message felt like a thread pulling me closer into his magnetic world. I imagined him, dark hair, piercing blue eyes, standing tall amidst a bustling city. My heart fluttered. "What was happening? Do you want to talk?" he asked, and the invitation sat heavy in the air. I could feel my pulse racing. I craved to speak with him, but I was terrified. I had no idea who he was or what it could mean. This was all absurd. Then my fingers danced over the keys. I answered. Maybe I hoped he'd say something that would make me feel like everything was all right. Everything would be fine. But deep down, the shadow of uncertainty loomed large. My emotions clashed: fear, excitement, despair. "Are you okay?" he questioned, sensing my hesitation through the digital space. The moment felt electric. I could feel something shifting inside of me. Hope, fear. But before I could respond, a harsh knock echoed through my empty apartment. I jumped, heart leaping to my throat. There, standing in the doorframe, was the last person I expected. Sarah, my rock, wide-eyed with concern. "Anna, are you all right? You look pale." Her breathless urgency cut through the fog of my thoughts. She held my gaze, waiting for a confession, a sign of what was happening. I froze. The phone buzzed in my palm, and Liam's name flashed. A rush of panic surged through me. I couldn't let her know. Not yet. I wanted to protect her from the whirlwind I'd created. But I was spiraling. The weight on my chest tightened. Yeah, just getting some news." The words stumbled out, and I instinctively clutched my phone tighter as Sarah stepped closer, her eyes narrowed. "What news?" The tension was suffocating. I glanced back at the screen. Another message, more revealing than the last: the storm was coming. "Who are you texting?" she pressed. I couldn't answer. The truth felt like shards of glass lodged in my throat. And just then, as her piercing gaze bore into mine, I was hit with a sudden realization, a vertigo of possibility and consequence. I was standing at a crossroads. One path led to the life I knew, the other to a stranger who could change everything. But before I could choose, a new message chimed and my heart stopped cold. "I need to tell you something important." The air thickened around me. What was he going to say? Suddenly, I felt like I was dangling on the edge of a precipice. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." The seconds dragged like hours as my heart raced, a cacophony of thoughts spiraling in my mind. Did I want to know what Liam had to say? Or did I want to throw my phone out the window and retreat into the safety of my old life? All I knew was that the gravity of my situation pressed against my chest, demanding release. Anna? Sarah's voice pulled me back. The worry etched on her face felt like a lifeline. Yet I was drifting too far into uncharted waters to grasp it. What's going on? I stared at my phone, the screen seemingly glowing brighter with each passing moment. It's nothing important, I finally said, my throat dry, the lie tasting bitter. But rather than retreat, Sarah stepped forward, a force of determination. Tell me the truth. I'm your best friend. And I'm here for you no matter what it is. Her pleading gaze met mine, and for an instant, I thought about confessing everything, the pregnancy, the texts with Liam, how lost I felt, but instead, a wave of panic swelled within me. I just need a moment, I said, desperately trying to sound casual, but my voice cracked. I almost dropped the phone, but the weight of the buzzing device became a tether to reality. Sarah's expression shifted, a quiet realization dawning on her. You're scared, she stated softly, her words slicing through the tension. It's okay to be scared, Anna. Just breathe. That I was terrified. But I pushed that fear further down into the depths of my heart. I couldn't show weakness. Not now. I'm fine, really, I lied again. But as I glanced at my screen, I could see Liam's message shifting from harmless curiosity to something deeper. A storm brewing under the surface. That moment, my phone buzzed again and I hesitated. Just give me a minute, I whispered, stepping away to read the text in private. The world faded as I focused solely on his words. I need to tell you something important, I read in haste. But first, tell me what you're feeling. I want to understand. The sincerity behind his words cut through the chaos in my mind like a refreshing breeze. For a heartbeat, I felt a flicker of hope. Could this stranger truly care? Just as I began to type a response, a small sound shattered my resolve, the unmistakable cry of a child, echoing from the apartment next door. The sound felt like a dagger, twisting in my heart. I could almost picture the parents, a joyful couple, perhaps gentle and nurturing, creating a safe haven for their growing family. That was what I had always dreamed of, wasn't it? The ideal set against my reality, achingly close yet forever out of reach. With trembling hands, I curled my fingers around the phone again. Is it a boy or girl? I typed, half hoping for distraction, half wanting the reality of parenting to wash over me. The response came moments later. Does it matter? Those little lives are filled with wonder either way. What matters is that you're scared. You have to face that. The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Fear coursed through me, an emotional avalanche. Liam was right, but I was too close to the cliff to accept that. Just as I began a reply, Sarah re-entered the room. A shadow of understanding in her gaze. That I know something's wrong. Talk to me, she said softly, and her gentle tone made my heart ache with both relief and trepidation. But before I could articulate the whirlwind of emotions boiling underneath my surface, my phone rang. It was a video call from Liam. My stomach dropped. I glanced at Sarah, her eyes wide in alarm. Who is that? She asked, crossing her arms, firming her resolve. I could see her concern morphing into a protective instinct. Are you serious? Sarah, please, it's a guy you don't even know. And ignoring her, I pressed answer, my pulse racing. Liam's face filled the screen, and I was blinked back to reality. His appearance was striking, a strong jaw, tousled hair, and those piercing blue eyes that felt like they were reading my soul. For a moment it was just him and me, as if the chaos of the world disappeared. Anna. His voice was smooth, inviting, but a storm lurked in those words. We need to talk. The dread in his tone sent shivers down my spine. What's wrong? I asked, my heart pounding. The panic swept through me again, amplifying everything I was trying to suppress. He took a deep breath. There's something about my life you need to know before we go any further. And at that moment time slowed down. I could feel the world crashing down. A break between hope and despair, love and fear. What could he possibly say that would change everything? The answer hung in the air, thick and suffocating, leaving me teetering on the edge of every decision I had made. This wasn't just chat anymore, it was a crossroads moment. Anna, I think you should sit down for this. The gravity of his words echoed, wrapping around me like a vice, and in that moment I realized my life was about to change forever. The air around me thickened as Liam's words settled like a heavy fog. You should sit down for this echoed in my mind, stirring trepidation that mingled with an insistent flutter of hope. Whatever he was about to reveal felt monumental, as if it carried the weight of both my past and the uncertain future looming in front of me. Anna. He prompted gently, snapping me back to the dim glow of the screen. I tried to steady myself on the couch, but the very act felt monumental. The fabric beneath me felt as unyielding as the waves attacking a shore, relentless and unforgiving. "Okay," I replied, my voice a hushed whisper, barely escaping my lips. Liam hesitated, his expression shifting into something more serious, eyes reflecting shadows that lingered beneath the surface. "I don't want to overwhelm you, but an important part of my life hasn't been entirely honest." My heart sank, each beat echoing louder in my ears like a countdown. Had I opened Pandora's box with a simple text? "Go on," I urged, clasping my hands tightly around my knees to fight the anxiety unspooling inside. "I'll start by saying I didn't want to tell you this over a video call, but I'm a billionaire," he said, his words dripping with a gravity that felt surreal. "And that isn't the worst of it. My family parents, they expect me to take over our business. There are expectations, responsibilities. I'm constantly overshadowed by their ambitions and legacy. I thought shielding you from this might spare you the chaos." The revelation crashed over me, floodwaters of disbelief washing over my senses. A billionaire? My mind raced, trying to reconcile the distant image of him I had crafted from our messages with this new reality that felt almost like a fantasy. But then it struck me like lightning. Every assumption about what luxury meant, what it could mean for us, faded against the potential weight of obligations Head described. "You mean you're entirely?" I asked, trailing off. "Yes, my life is painfully scripted. It's suffocating, truthfully." There was a glimmer of raw honesty in his eyes that blurred the lines between his privilege and his pain. "I have it all, but am constantly searching for what feels real. Until you sent that pregnancy test, I didn't realize how lonely that void was." The unsettling thought twisted within my stomach. I was a potential mother, tangled in an emotional riptide, standing at an unexpected crossroads, guided by a stranger's honesty. "What do you want from this, Liam?" I inquired, wary of the labyrinthine situation that unfolded before me. "What do you want from me?" "I want to build a life beyond the expectations laid before me," he confessed, words strong yet vulnerable. "I crave something genuine, something pure. You in this situation can offer me that. But that's only if you want it too." A rush of conflicting feelings surged through me. The allure of a world I had never imagined for myself, infused with love and perhaps stability. But the fear of entangling myself in the complex web of his life, his obligations, his reputation held me back. I drew a deep breath as I thought of the baby and what kind of life could be in store for us. Would I be ready to take that leap? Just then, Sarah's voice cut through my haze like a siren piercing the night. "Anna, you don't have to feel pressured. You can take your time to think this through." Her urge to protect me felt comforting, yet it also magnified my own conflict. I glanced at her, desperate to convey the storm inside me that Liam's admission had triggered. Could she possibly understand that my heart had grown heavy in two directions at once? Liam continued, his intensity unwavering. "You mean the world to me, and I'd do anything to be with you. Just tell me what you're feeling right now." As my thoughts tangled around Liam's confession, the ringing of the doorbell sliced through our moment. I jerked my head toward the sound, anxiety flooding through me again. Who could it be? "Stay here," I said to Sarah, feeling the urgency drip from my voice. "I'll check it out." My pulse thundered in my ears, each footstep toward the door like marching toward an unknown battlefield. The tension felt palpable, and with every breath, I sensed the life-altering decisions that lay ahead. I hesitated before the door, taking a slow breath to calm my racing heart. But as I opened it, my breath hitched in my throat, for there stood Liam exactly as he looked on the screen, but now in my world, both real and surreal. "Liam," I gasped, unable to mask my shock. "What are you doing here?" The vulnerability in his eyes mirrored my own. "I couldn't wait any longer," he said, voice steady but laden with an urgency that pierced through the air. "I need to know if you're with me, but more than that, I need to know the truth about this baby." Time seemed to halt, and in that moment, the uncertainty of my life exploded like a fireworks show, colorful yet chaotic. All the questions I had flourished in my mind, mingling with my emotions as I stood on the cusp of everything changing. Yet, beneath it all, there was a burgeoning reality that the answer I would give could shape not just my future, but his too. The evening sun cast long shadows through the small hallway, each inch of light that streamed in through the window feeling like a spotlight illuminating the enormity of my choices. My hand still rested on the doorknob, but my heart raced in a tumultuous rhythm that echoed the questions swirling in my mind. Could I truly fathom the gravity of Liam's presence here, in my world, so suddenly tangible after weeks of distant connection? "Anna, please," he urged, stepping slightly closer, his voice low but steady. "I need to hear it from you. I can't pretend this isn't happening anymore." His eyes, a warm, inviting brown, searched mine, and I felt as if he was peeling away the layers of uncertainty I had draped around myself. What kind of life awaited us? A cascade of dreams and fears belied any confident answer I might have had. I was an ordinary woman, thrust into a whirlwind of extraordinary circumstances. Can we talk somewhere else?" I finally managed to say, my throat tight with anxiety. "I don't want Sarah, of course," he replied quickly, his understanding easing the tension in my chest as he stepped back to give me space. The world outside faded into the background as I carefully led him to the kitchen, its smallness a stark contrast to the vastness of our discussion ahead. He sat at the table, fingers entwined, watching me closely as I leaned against the counter. I reflected on the last few days, where everything had shifted so rapidly, while I had remained rooted in confusion. What if this isn't some fairy tale, Liam? What if I can't do what you want? His gaze remained fixed on me, a steadiness grounding me in the storm. What I want is to walk this road together. It's not about my wealth or my parents' expectations, it's about us. About the future. You are not a chapter in my life. You're the entirety of it. His words wrapped around me like a soft blanket, warming me against the chill of my trepidations. Yet, in those moments of vulnerability, a fear began to bloom in the pit of my stomach. What would it mean for my future if I chose him? What kind of shadow would his legacy cast over the life of our child? As if sensing my turmoil, he reached for my hand and squeezed gently. "Anna, you're strong. You've already proven that. I want you to know there's no pressure, take your time." The split between possibility and the familiarity of my reality began to falter, and in that instant, something undermined my bravado. The weight of destiny, that truth I couldn't escape, echoed back to what Sarah had said. She wanted what was best for me, and everything seemed like a fracture waiting to form a whole that I simply could not understand yet. Then my phone buzzed, jolting me back into the moment. I glanced down at a text. It was from Sarah. Did I hear Liam's voice? "I'm just a few feet away. Please keep me in the loop." The light-hearted nature of her text juxtaposed sharply with the monumental conversation unfolding just inches from her. I started, confusion taking over again. "This doesn't just affect you, Liam. It's my life too. My choices." He looked at me, a mix of concern and understanding painting his features. "I wouldn't have traveled here if I didn't think you deserved the truth, Anna. But if this is too much, I'll step back." "I swear that I don't want you to leave," I exclaimed, surprising myself with the urgency in my voice. "I'm just afraid of making a choice that could ruin everything." He nodded, his respect for my struggle tangible in the air. "Then let's take it slow. We'll figure it out." Just as I began to find some thread of calm in his offer, the kitchen door swung open with a suddenness that made both of us jump. My heart sank as I watched Sarah's face morph from eager anticipation to jaw-dropping bewilderment. "Liam? You're here?" Her eyes darted between the two of us, unnerved by the electric tension capturing the moment. "Yeah, we were just talking," Liam answered, his tone measured, but I could see the storm of emotions behind his facade. "What are you doing here without telling me?" she pressed, concern etched on her brow. "Sarah, I started, but the fear of the unknown swept back over me, haunting the edges of my thoughts." But before I could speak further, a chime from my phone broke the silence, announcing another message. My heart quickened once more as I glanced at the screen. It was the same number from which I had sent the initial pregnancy test, a prompt flashing across my screen that sent a chill down my spine. "I need to talk. It's about the pregnancy." And with that, the ground beneath me began to quake, unraveling the fragile hope I'd begun to cling to moments before. "Who is that?" Sarah's voice cracked with concern, and Liam's eyes sharpened with confusion. I was about to respond when I suddenly realized whoever was on the other side of that message held answers to questions I hadn't even dared to ask yet. And yet, as uncertainty gnawed at me, one nagging thought emerged. Could this enigmatic person wield the final decision of my fate? As the message lingered ominously in the air, the kitchen felt constricted, closing in around me like a vice. The laughter and warmth of home transformed into a cavernous pit of anxiety. My heart pounded loudly in my ears, drowning out Sarah's anxious questions and Liam's burgeoning concern. I blinked rapidly, the reality of the moment hitting me like a freight train. "Anna." Liam's voice broke through the fog, sharp and concerned. "Are you okay?" I stared at my phone, the screen illuminating my face in its stark light. The threat of communication to a mystery man had become an unwelcome beacon in my life, one that threatened to derail the fragile balance of hope I had begun crafting moments before. Who is it?" Sarah's voice was a whisper now, the conflict in her eyes doing little to distract from the concern that penetrated my facade. "I don't know," I managed, my throat thick with emotion. "I sent a pregnancy test to the wrong person." The confession slipped past my lips, and as soon as the words left me, I felt exposed, like the veneer of control was cracking under the pressure of truth. "What do you mean?" Sarah's brow furrowed, stepping closer, her hand reaching out instinctively to touch mine. "You didn't." "I did," I interrupted, the memory flooding back. I had been so overwhelmed and fearful, and in a momentary lapse, I had confided in someone I thought might be able to offer support. I sent a message to an unknown number explaining everything. "What if they go to the media?" Liam interjected, a tinge of panic coloring his words. "I'll deal with it. Whatever it takes." "No." I snapped, the weight of my fear surfacing. "You don't understand. What if it's someone who knows me? Someone from my life? I have no idea who this person is or what they want." An uncomfortable silence settled over us, the possibilities inherent in my miscalculation swirling like a storm. The faint ticking of the kitchen clock mocked the tension while I fought the temptation to retreat into my own mind. "Just answer them," Sarah suggested, her voice steady despite the quivers beneath it. "You have to gain control of this before it spirals any further. This is your life, Anna, and the stakes are higher than ever." I considered Sarah's statement, her sincerity cutting through my turbulent thoughts. What if this person held the key to navigating my tangled web of confusion? Or worse, what if they leaned into the chaos? My heart raced with uncertainty, each beat echoing that chaos louder in my mind. "I can't just reply," I said, my fingers trembling as I gripped the phone tighter. "What if they twist my words? What if they don't just want a conversation?" "I'll be here with you," Liam said quietly, offering the clarity of his presence amidst the turmoil. "You're not facing this alone. Whatever it is, I won't let them take control." I took a deep breath, glancing between my two closest anchors, fear braided with undeniable resolve. "Okay," I said, my voice cracking at the edges. "I'll know soon." With a trembling hand, I tapped the message open, my heart racing as I prepared to confront the unknown. Pushing the reply button, I forced myself to breathe steadily, reminding myself of the words I wanted to express. "Who is this? Why did you send that message?" As I hit send, the air shifted around us, thick with uncertainty. A cacophony of thoughts raced through my mind, a flutter of anxiety intermingled with a sliver of hope. I dared to steal a glance at Liam, whose supportive gaze was unwavering, an anchor in this sea of doubt. Suddenly, the phone buzzed back to life, interrupting the heavy silence. A response flickered onto the screen, the words shocking in their immediacy. "I know what you're going through. We need to talk. It's about your future and your baby." The weight of those words hit me like a tidal wave, crashing through the fragile barriers I had been erecting. I hesitated, the room spinning slightly as my heart raced again. "I don't like this," Sarah said, her frown deepening as she glanced at the phone. "What if you're opening a door you can't close?" "Then we'll face whatever comes together," Liam reassured, the depth of his sincerity providing a strange sense of comfort. But before I could speak, another sound reached my ears, a soft knock at the door, startling me from the tableau of urgency surrounding my phone. My breath hitched in my throat as our eyes turned toward the door, a troubling uncertainty swirling anew. "I'll get it," Sarah offered, moving hesitantly toward the entrance. As she opened the door, a stranger's silhouette loomed outside, tall, shadowed, and impossibly composed. The moment hung suspended in time, and I felt the cold edge of dread creep into my heart. "Who is it?" Liam whispered urgently, stepping lightly closer to me, a voice sliced through the tension, lyrical yet foreboding. "I'm here for Anna. We need to discuss the future." And in an instant I was thrust into deeper waters, the impending tide of my reality threatening to pull me under. I glanced at Liam and Sarah, their faces framed by the doorway as everything I'd feared began to unveil itself. In that doorway stood the absolute embodiment of my uncertain fate. The weight of the stranger's presence pressed in on me like a physical force, suffocating the air in the room. My heart raced and confusion knotted in my stomach as I struggled to process his words. Here was someone whose existence had materialized from my reckless decision, someone who claimed to know more about my future than I did. Anna, he continued, his voice steadying the storm within me, am Tom. I work with organizations dedicated to helping families in unexpected situations. His eyes held an intensity that seemed to peer into the very essence of my turmoil. We need to talk. I caught a warning glance from Sarah, who stood half hidden behind the doorframe as if bracing herself against an unforeseen wave. I could feel Liam's protective stance a few steps behind me, ready to shield me from whatever this man represented. My mind raced. A glimmer of curiosity battled with my instinct to retreat, to protect the fragile world I had struggled to maintain. What do you want? I managed, my voice wavering as I took a cautious step forward, crossing a line into the unknown. I want to help you, Tom replied, holding up his hands in a placating gesture. I know this must be overwhelming. Please, let's sit down somewhere more private. The suggestion sparked a flurry of emotions within me. Very part of my instinct screamed to shut him out. Yet another part, almost desperate for clarity, urged me to hear him out. I knotted my fingers tightly, glancing at Liam for reassurance. I'll be right here, he said simply, an anchor to my storming thoughts. I nodded, uncertain, and stepped outside. A flood of uncertainty surged through me. But as much as I wanted to flee, there was an undeniable draw to confront this moment. Tom gestured towards an unmarked car parked a few houses down, the sleek vehicle glistening even in the dim evening light. I promise we'll be safe, he assured, his tone commanding an underlying sense of responsibility. It's important that we talk without distractions. Reluctance shivered through me, yet I knew turning back could cost me precious insight into my situation. I cast a quick look over my shoulder, meeting Liam's steady gaze before I turned toward the car. As the door clicked shut behind me, the tension in the air transformed into something palpable. Tom settled into the driver's seat, glancing at me with an intensity that felt strangely unsettling yet kind. The message you sent, he began, his voice steady. I believe you're in a very pivotal moment in your life. You're facing the potential of motherhood, and it's a journey that comes with daunting choices and consequences. My pulse quickened. What do you know about me? About my situation? I know a lot more than you think, he replied, stealing a sideways glance at me. More than I should, perhaps. That statement hung heavy between us, suffused with unspoken implications. I felt exposed like a canvas revealed to the world before the final brushstrokes. Why are you so invested in my life? Because I help people like you. People struggling to navigate their futures when they feel lost. He shifted slightly, seeming to collect his thoughts. I'm here to provide options, to help ease your fears and uncertainties about this unexpected turn. His words echoed in my mind, a soft knock against my frantic thoughts, but layers of distrust unfurled just as quickly. What's in it for you? I pressed, keeping my guard up. Nothing but the chance to make a difference, he replied. And I have the resources to do so. I've dedicated my life to this kind of work, partnering with people in dire straits. His earnestness struck a chord, but confusion compounded with doubt. The thought of allowing a stranger into such a vulnerable space felt reckless. But before I could voice my concerns, my phone buzzed incessantly in my pocket, a familiar warmth amidst the chill of the moment. Please, Tom urged, his voice gentle but unyielding. Let me help you, Anna. You don't have to face this alone. My heart raced as I glanced briefly at the screen, but the message backtracked my thoughts into chaos. We still need to talk. This isn't over. Fear prickled down my spine, and as much as I wanted answers and support, the realization struck me here were forces at play that I could not control. Anna, Tom encouraged softly, breaking the silence hanging like a shadow between us. This is your chance to take charge of your future. You're stronger than you believe. Yet strength wavered at the precipice of uncertainty. The shadows of my choices loomed large, and every moment I hesitated felt like sand slipping through my fingers. Confront the unknown? Or retreat back to the safety of confusion? Just give me a reason, I whispered, desperate for hope yet consumed by trepidation. feeling the weight of destiny hanging in the air, a fragile moment that could change everything. Before he could respond, my phone buzzed again. I glanced down, shock flooding my features as I read the incoming message. The text simply stated, "Your life is in danger. Trust no one." In that moment, an undeniable chill coursed through me, turning the warmth of the car into an icy cage. I slammed my phone down, my breath quickening as I turned to Tom, my mind racing with newfound fear. The again pronounced danger set in, and suddenly, the resolve to confront my future felt insurmountable. Outside those doors loomed unexpected choices, but now the gravity of what lay ahead felt dangerously intertwined with my past. "Get me out of this," I said, the words tinged with desperation. The road winding ahead filled with pitfalls and uncertainties. The future I had thought I was reaching for was suddenly veiled in shadows, and I didn't know which way to turn. The air hung thick with tension, the words pulsating in the silence left in the wake of my urgent plea. Tom's eyes shifted, narrowing slightly as he processed the message on my screen, its stark truth echoing in the confines of the car. "Anna," he said softly, a new seriousness in his voice that sent a shiver down my spine. "You need to trust me. We have to leave this place right now." My instincts screamed at me to run, to break free from the stranglehold of this situation, but the gravity of his tone rooted me to the seat. "Where can we go?" I asked, hardly daring to breathe. "I know a safe place," he responded, his voice steady but urgent. "But we have to act fast." The notion of leaving with a stranger at my side felt impossibly precarious, a gamble with stakes far higher than I could fathom. Yet, in that moment, as the weight of the unknown pressed in, I recognized that remaining in the dark only amplified my fears. I nodded silently, knowing that moving was my only choice. Liam's face flashed through my mind like a beacon. His unwavering support had been my backbone through this storm. Glancing at Tom, I could see the determination set in his jaw, though doubt still clawed at my insides. Could I really trust him? The road was murky and unfamiliar, and yet I felt the fire of protectiveness ignite within me, urging me to choose the fight over the flight. As Tom turned the car onto a secluded road, I pulled my phone back out, the screen lighting up with the reflection of my fears. Guilt flooded my thoughts. I couldn't keep Liam in the dark, not when he had been my rock. I texted him quickly, my hands trembling. "I'm okay for now. I think I'll be safe. I'll explain later." Tom glanced at me, a flicker of understanding passing between us. "You've got someone looking out for you," he said, his voice softer now, almost reassuring. "That's good. You'll need that support in the days ahead." Days ahead, my mind spiraled with the enormity of everything unraveling. It felt like slipping through threads of fate, each one fraying as the connections between my past and future danced dangerously close to severing. I suddenly felt very small, grappling with the weight of secrets and implications, all while the darkness chased after me as we drove further away from my familiar world. Dusk rolled in over the horizon, cloaking the landscape in a soft, shimmering gloom. The hazy warmth of comfort haunted the edges of my thoughts, fading with each mile. I glanced out the window, catching brief glimpses of houses bathed in orange light, families gathered around dinner tables, their laughter echoing against the stillness of the dusk. For them, life marched on, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing around me. "Where are we going?" I asked, my voice barely escaping in the thick air. "A safe house," Tom replied, his gaze locked straight ahead. "It's not far. We'll be there soon." The words lingered, wrapping around me like a blanket, both comforting and suffocating. A safe house. The phrase conjured images of failure, a haven for those backed into corners. Yet, beneath the weight of fear, I felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps this was my chance, a moment to strip away the tangled complexities of my reality and confront the truth of my choices. "Anna," Tom said, breaking into my spiral of thought, "I need you to focus on what comes next. We can't let fear take control." His voice coaxed layers of strength from within me, peeling back the doubt and presenting a frail yet shimmering sense of resilience. "I'll try," I murmured, determined to find solid ground amidst the chaos. As we pulled into a dimly lit driveway, shadows cast long and dark across the car. A small house nestled behind tall hedges came into view, its windows flickering with the halting light of a single lamp. Tom parked and turned to me, his expression earnest. "This is it. We'll figure things out here." Stepping out into the chill of the night, the air felt electric, filled with the promise of change. The door creaked as Tom opened it, revealing warm tones and an embrace of silence within. It stood stark and unwelcoming yet offered shelter from the storm brewing outside. I crossed the threshold, stepping into an uncertain sanctuary, my heart pounding as Tom followed. "Stay close," he murmured, scanning the room as if it held more than furniture and relics of quiet moments. Just then my phone buzzed again, a vibration that sent a jolt through my body. Hesitantly, I pulled it from my pocket, my heart plummeting as I read the message. "You think you're safe? I'm watching you." The walls around me closed in, and a raw wave of panic surged. I felt trapped not just in this house but in the clutches of something far more insidious. Tom's eyes flicked to mine, a question lurking within them, but I knew then, the battle wasn't just for my future. It was a desperate fight for my very life. "Anna," he began, sensing my fear. But how could I explain to him the chasm that had opened beneath my feet? The world I thought I understood had turned on its head, and I was clinging to the 3 fragile threads that remained, desperately hoping they wouldn't snap. Just then, a loud crash resonated from outside, followed by the unsettling sound of footsteps approaching. My heart raced, and I knew in that instant, whatever hope I had grasped only moments before felt impossibly distant. The battle was far from over. It had just begun, and I was unprepared for the fight ahead. The vibration of my phone barely registered against the pounding of my heart, but the urgency in Tom's expression snapped me to attention. What had been a safe house mere moments ago now felt more like a trap, the walls closing in on me with the sound of crashing debris outside. The message on my screen loomed large in my mind, a taunt from the shadows, a reminder that my life had spiraled dangerously beyond my control. "Anna, we need to go," Tom urged, his intense gaze scanning the room as if mentally plotting our escape route. Panic clawed at my insides, the fear threatening to overwhelm me. Just outside, shadows shifted and morphed, menacingly close. I thought of Liam, the conversation that felt like a lifetime ago. The courage had instilled in me. But he wasn't here. He had no idea what I was up against. Panic surged anew, and I turned to Tom, desperation coloring my voice. "What if they find me? What if—" My words faltered, the icy grip of fear making it hard to breathe. He stepped closer, his expression softening despite the urgency of our situation. "I won't let that happen, okay? We'll figure this out together, but you need to trust me." I searched his eyes, desperate for a flicker of truth among the storm of uncertainty. When had I become so lost that I required a stranger's assurance? Yet, amidst my tumultuous emotions, a small ember of hope sparked within me. If Tom was right, perhaps there was still a way to confront this gale threatening to engulf me. "I can't just disappear," I whispered, the thought suffocating. "What if he hurts Liam?" "No one's getting hurt," Tom reassured me firmly, his voice unwavering. "Promise." Before I could respond, another crash shattered the night, more pronounced this time, and I instinctively took a step back, my pulse quickening as dread coiled around my stomach. "We can't stay here. They'll come for us," I warned, my breath picking up pace. "Stay quiet," Tom whispered, glancing at the windows, the faint glow from outside casting eerie shadows. "I'll check." Every nerve screamed at me to follow him, but I obliterated that impulse, forced to remind myself I wasn't merely a passive observer. Instead, I clenched my fists, steeling my resolve. As Tom eased toward one of the windows, I retreated to the far corner of the room, attempting to absorb the mingling sense of dust and chipped wood, creating a small fortress of focus amidst creeping chaos. "Just stay down," Tom murmured as he peered outside, his body tense, fingers coiled around the window frame as if bracing for an impact. Time stretched, each moment feeling like an eternity weighed down by uncertainty. Then, with a sharp intake of breath, Tom pulled back. The tension coiled tighter in my chest as he slowly revealed a strangled smile. "It's just some kids," he said, turning to meet my eyes. "Looks like they were messing around. No one's coming for us." Relief washed over me, though it felt fragile and fleeting, like sand slipping through my fingers. Tension didn't ease, though. Instead, it morphed into an unsettling stillness, the fragility of the moment apparent in the way I dug my nails into my palms. "I don't feel safe," I confessed, my voice trembling despite the conviction behind my words. Tom stepped closer, his demeanor steadying, but there was something raw in his eyes, a vulnerability just beneath the surface. "We can stay through the night," he advised gently. "I can strengthen the doors, make sure no one can get in. But I need your strength too, Anna." I need you to suppress that fear for just a bit longer. In that moment, a warmth flickered in the cold recesses of my heart, to see the way he was willing to stand guard against my demons. But the nagging, relentless thoughts began to creep back in. What if I had leaned on him too much? What if, after all this, the reality of my situation closed in like a vice, suffocating the little optimism I had left? Exhaling slowly, determined to quell my anxiety, I looked Tom in the eye. "I'll be strong. For Liam. But if something happens, you leave first." He blinked, surprise flickering in his gaze. "Don't talk like that. We're getting out of this together. Promise me," I insisted, my voice steadier now. "You protect yourself. I can't lose you too." The sentence hung in the air between us, a fragile tether tightening. He finally nodded, a quiet acknowledgement weaving between us, underscoring a bond we hadn't chosen but now needed. Another vibration startled me, and my phone illuminated the dark room once more with a new message. I hesitated, dread pooling in the pit of my stomach. "It's him," I breathed, staring at the words that glowed defiantly on the screen. "You can't hide from me forever." Tom stepped closer, his expression a mixture of concern and resolve. "What does it say?" My throat turned dry as I relayed the message, each word deepening the chasm between us and the world I longed to escape. The shadows slithered closer, and I felt the hairs on the back of my neck rise. "Anna, listen," Tom said, his voice low. "We need to move now." But before he could elaborate, the shriek of tires on gravel pierced the night air, echoing my trepidation. It was not just the hollow sound of faraway torment, it was a signal that the storm had finally found us, and the fight for survival had only just begun. The thrilling sound of skidding tires reverberated through the narrow confines of the small house, and I felt the walls tighten around me like a vice. The faint glow of my phone now felt akin to a warning siren, illuminating not just the darkness of the room but the overwhelming reality that we were being pulled into the eye of the storm. "Tom," I gasped, my heart thundering in my chest as adrenaline surged through my veins. "What do we do?" The panic that washed over me was sharp and all-consuming. I dreaded drawing closer to the door that led out into the encroaching danger. "Stay low and quiet," he replied, his tone clipped and resolute. "Whatever happens next, we stick to the plan. No matter what." There was an unexpected quiet strength in his voice, a tether I clung to amid the roiling uncertainty of my fears. I crouched low against the corner, trying to steady my breath, feeling the warmth of hope flicker and dim like a candle threatened by a gust of wind. Tom moved stealthily toward the door, his posture fluid yet tense, revealing that he too was acutely aware of the stakes at play. Creaking sounds echoed from outside, pushing my heart from thrumming fear to outright panic. The shadows I'd feared were not merely the remnants of a chaotic world. They had turned into elongated figures cloaked in darkness, growing larger and more formidable as they approached the house. "I'll divert them," Tom whispered urgently, meeting my wide gaze with a seriousness I hadn't seen before. "You stay hidden." The urge to protest bubbled in my throat. Couldn't just put himself in harm's way. "No. You can't go out there alone." "What if I know what I'm doing, Anna?" he snapped, eyes flashing with determination. "You need to trust me." His words struck like a hard truth, a wake-up call amidst the swirling chaos. I swallowed my protests, knowing that the situation we were tangled in was far beyond my control. "Okay," I whispered, though it felt like surrender. "Just be careful." With one last squeeze of my hand, Tom opened the door, the pale light from the moon fading into the darkness as he slipped through, leaving me alone in a silence deep and suffocating. Time stretched like the night around me, each tick of my heart echoing painfully in the solitude. I focused on not thinking about what was happening outside, the unfolding tension tightening around my chest until it became difficult to breathe. But as moments dragged painfully on, an unexpected sound broke through. A soft thump followed by hurried footsteps came from the rear of the house. My heart skipped in my chest, a new wave of fear flooding over me. Were they coming for me? I pressed my back to the wall, unsure whether to stand or dart and hide deeper into the shadows. But instead of the menacing figure I had expected, a soft voice echoed in the hallway. "Anna." "Tom?" I whispered, desperate to escape my hiding spot as I emerged into the dim light. But what I found instead was the unexpected form of an older woman, her brow creased and determined as she slipped inside, glancing around as if ensuring we were safe. "Who are you?" I stammered, racked with confusion. "Not your enemy," she said quickly, glancing past me toward the door Tom had just exited. "I'm here to help. Tom sent me for you." "Help? How do you know Tom?" I felt a surge of distrust at the thought of inviting another person into our precarious position. Yet there was a strange comfort in her earnest expression. She hesitated, assessing my fear. "He's a good man. We've worked together before." "What's happening out there?" I demanded, realizing I had no control over the unfolding events, no sense of direction. A brief shadow passed across her face. "They're looking for you, Anna. Tom's trying to gain their attention so you can get away. We don't have much time." A sharp rush of anxiety gripped me. My instincts told me to follow her, yet all I could think about was Tom. What if he was hurt while I waited here? "We can't leave him." The woman inhaled sharply, desperation flickering in her eyes. "We have to. If you stay, you're both as good as caught. We can't let them find you." The weight of her words crashed over me, drowning out any argument I could muster. The tide of decision swept me forward, though fear still gripped my mind. But what if they find him? "Then he'll understand. And we will come back for him," the woman urged, her voice steady but tinged with urgency. "Anna, we're running out of time." I faltered for a moment, torn between my loyalty to Tom and the undeniable reality of our situation. A soft voice whispered from the depths of my spirit, "What if we didn't have another chance?" Reluctantly, I nodded, crossing the threshold behind her into the unknown world outside, where the air felt thick with the scent of rain and angst, my heart pounding in time with the distant footsteps. But as we slipped into the shelter of darkness, a new realization settled heavily in the pit of my stomach. In putting distance between myself and Tom, would I be breaking us apart for good? The sounds of the night morphed into a dreadful symphony, and just before I could turn back to catch a last glimpse of the place I'd left behind, I heard a harsh shout echo through the storm. "Find her!" A chill trickled through me. They were closer than I had thought, and in that instance a new understanding dawned. Trusting someone else might just be the most perilous gamble of all. The moon hung high above as we moved swiftly through the darkened streets, the faint sounds of life behind us fading into distant echoes. In that moment I felt a fissure growing within me, a rift torn between the choice I had made and the pull of the life I had left behind. "Keep moving," the woman urged, casting anxious glances behind us, her determination unwavering. Her name was Clara, and I struggled to reconcile the warmth in her eyes with the urgency of our flight. "We need to get as far away from that house as possible." I nodded, but the thought of Tom lingered like a thick fog, suffocating my resolve. What about him? I found myself asking, fighting past the wave of guilt threatening to consume me. What if he can't get away? Clara paused for a moment, her expression softening. "He's a survivor, Anna. He'll find a way. Right now we can't focus on what we might lose, only on what we can save." Her words wrapped around me like a lifeline, a reminder that hope could exist even amidst despair. As we rounded a corner, the shadows danced ominously around us, each rustling leaf and distant noise igniting the flicker of fear nestled deep within my chest. And yet, against all odds, there was a strange sense of clarity amidst the chaos. Perhaps I didn't just need to flee, but also forge a path forward. With every step, I clung to the remnants of possibility, grappling with the swirling emotions of loss and fear. Memories of Liam brushed against my mind, each one a reminder of the connection I had forged with a man I had yet to meet in person, yet felt so intertwined with my heart. Did he know the weight of my circumstances? Would he still want to be tethered to me when the dust settled? "Stay close," Clara whispered as we approached a narrow alley lined with towering buildings that loomed ominously above us. My heart raced at the thought of recurrence from the past, others watching, always waiting to pounce on the vulnerable. The hour stretched. The cacophony of the world fell away until all that existed was the rhythm of my breath and the fleeting shadows flickering against the walls. Just as doubt threatened to breach the surface, my phone buzzed quietly in my pocket, jolting me out of my daze. Clara glanced over, her brow furrowing. "You should check it just in case it's important," she encouraged gently. My fingers trembled as I pulled it out, heart pounding in my ears with each subdued vibration. The message appeared like insistent thunder. "I know you're alive. You can't hide from me, Anna. I'm coming for you." Panic surged anew, invigorated by the warning that danced like a specter before me. "I can't be a target," I gasped, my breath hitching as a new wave of dread hit. "He knows where I am." Focus, Clara urged, a fierce intensity igniting in her voice. If we keep our wits about us, we can outsmart them. She reached for my hand, squeezing it reassuringly. Remember what I said about trusting me. The deeper truth that lay beneath her words flickered like a candle in the dark. Could I really trust anyone? Especially now. Life had shown me time and again that I'd have to be brave on my own. I felt the weight of loyalty drift heavily against the blood-bonding ties of hope. But perhaps hope was a choice. Right, I said, swallowing hard against the raw emotions clawing at my throat. Let's move. We picked up our pace, moving silently through the alley like shadows themselves. My senses sharpened, aware of every rustle, every sound that reverberated around us. Just as we approached the alley's end, the distinct sound of boots echoed behind us, followed by hushed voices. Do you hear that? They're getting closer, I whispered, my heart racing as dread hovered thick in the air. It was a brutal reminder that I was being pursued, that I was a target in someone's twisted game. We need to take a detour, Clara whispered urgently, her gaze fixing on a side street to our left. Quickly, we darted down the side street, adrenaline coursing through my veins. My mind raced with chaotic thoughts as we turned sharply behind another building, the world compressing around us. We landed against the cool brick, gasping for air as the footsteps grew closer. That was too close, I exclaimed breathlessly, my body trembling with fear. Clara nodded, her face taut with focus. We'll have to hide until they pass. Minutes felt like hours as we stood in our makeshift sanctuary. The shadows seemed to breathe alongside us, heavy with potential as dread began to weave through the fibers of my resolve. At any moment I might have to step into the light, except in those fragmented seconds, I was finally aware of the unrelenting pressure of my reality. Anna, Clara said softly, snapping my attention back to the moment. I know this is overwhelming, but you're stronger than you think. We just have to keep moving forward. One step at a time. I let her words settle in, feeling powerful as they took root. I needed to face the unknown. What about Tom? I asked, realization dawning upon me. Will he be okay? Clara's expression shifted slightly, the undercurrent of worry surfacing. He's got skills. He'll make it. He may be far more helpful later than you realize. You have a role to play in this as well. Feeling a rush of understanding, I breathed deep, knowing that if I could conquer this fear, if I could navigate these dark waters, I might be able to gain some semblance of control over my fate. As the footsteps receded, we slipped from our hiding place, emerging back into the dim light of the night. Let's keep moving, Clara said, her voice steady. We're almost to the safe house. Safe house, I murmured, more to myself than her. Were any truths still safe in a world where it felt like everything was falling apart? We crossed an open road, shadows dancing against the muted glow of streetlights, the air thick with the weight of our shared anxieties. With each step, I grappled with the haunting uncertainty that lingered in the periphery. Where would this lead me? Would I find my footing in the chaos I had stumbled into? And then it hit me, his was not just about running. It was about confronting the very fabric of my destiny. I reached for Clara's hand, pulling her toward me, meeting her gaze with a fierce conviction. I am going to fight. I won't let them take away everything that matters, I declared, fear mingling with resolve like sparks that could ignite a fire. Her lips curved into a proud smile, the sort of respect that ignited something powerful within my core. That's the spirit, Anna. Together, we'll make it through this. And as we pressed forward, everything crystallized in that moment. The swirling uncertainties coalesced into a singular truth. I was not simply running from fear but toward a new version of myself. Fear would no longer dictate my choices. The safe house was not just physical shelter, it was a promise of protection, a chance to reclaim my life. Amongst shadows and chaos, amid the relentless pursuit, I recognized that it was not just survival at stake, it was the choice of truly living, of opening my heart to the unknown. The world before me shimmered in the distance as we approached the small structure nestled beneath a blanket of night, a lighthouse guiding me away from the storm. And as I moved closer, I took one last look back at the journey I had endured, understanding that only from the depths of darkness could I find my light. Whatever comes next, I'm ready, I whispered, determined to face the winds of fate with an unwavering spirit. And deep within, amid the uncertainty and the shadows, I finally felt the stirrings of hope, the promise that love and strength could bloom even in the darkest of moments. I will not be broken. I will rise.